second time around here with St. John's. Anything different from the first time that you guys played them, or anything that you need to be prepared for this time around?
No, when you play St. John's, regardless of, I think, who they're getting ready to play, it's always about being able to take care of the ball. And, for us, I think what we rely a lot on is what just happened to our team against Providence, where we were able to play a 45-minute game with only 5 turnovers. The last time that we played, although we won the game, we didn't necessarily do a good job of taking care of the ball. As a matter of fact, they scored more points off of our turnovers than any team we've played all season long. And usually when that happens, it's hard to leave with the victory. But if you remember how that game went, they made a huge comeback in large part because of what I just talked about. The other misconception, or the other thing about them, and I think it's a misconception, is it's not like they're full court pressing all the time, causing turnovers. A lot of times it's just in the half court area, around the basket when you drive. So we have to do as good of a job on the heels of doing a great job against Providence of taking care of the ball. And I think that's, to me, the key to the game for us.
Without Zach, the other night against Providence, it was a tight game. It was a back-and-forth game, and you shortened up your rotation, really going with 6 guys there in the second half. How feasible is that moving forward, or do you continue to have to find ways to maybe get Jack Nungy a little bit more rest? And some of these guys that, you don't want to get to the end of February and have them playing 38, 39, 40 minutes a game, I would assume.
For sure. We have to do as good of a job as we can of finding depth, getting some guys into the game. Those players that we call on, they need to be able to come in and contribute and be a positive force. Not necessarily having a big scoring night or even making a 3-point shot, but just keeping us in rhythm of what we're doing, being a good defensive player. And there's a lot of teams that are very, very good that have that going with the way they sub. But I am looking to get Kiki Tandy in the game just a little bit more, potentially Cam Kraft, certainly Cesar Edwards. And in fairness to Cesar, I don't know if I've put him in a great position. I go back, his track record, I put him in at the Crosstown Shootout. I put him in at St. John's the last time, put him in at Creighton. The past game against Providence is one of the first times where he's played at home in a big game, and we got him in a little bit earlier. So I think like any young player, the more he gets in there, the more comfortable he gets. And we believe in Cesar, especially for the role that he currently has. He's big, physical, athletic. I think his heart's in the right place. He wants to come in and, a lot like Jerome Hunter did as far back as November, just understand his role and do it. And I think that he's a candidate to solve what you just said, because that will inevitably be a big problem for us. We have to be able to get those guys a little bit more rest during the game. I'm talking about our starters.
The other night after the Providence game, we were talking, and you said that without Zach, one of the things that you did was you ran more set plays. Was that a product of once you got into that game and you saw how it was being played, you just decided, you know what, I want a little bit more structure here offensively? Or did you kind of go into that game knowing that without Zach, you were going to have to rely on your set plays a little bit more?
No, I think it was the function of the game, and it's a little bit of, when you run set plays, the pace isn't as fast. And that's the other thing for us to be aware of. I think we really want to play fast. We still do. I think the worst thing that we can do is all of a sudden abandon the pace that we've played with. But I do think that we have to be smart as we get towards the end of games. Sometimes being able to be aware of our tempo more than maybe we would have if we had like a full cast is something that I think right now we're going to be aware of. So set plays does that, kind of slows things down, maybe structures us a little bit more. But I think that was more a function of the Providence game and the game getting into overtime.
You're tied for first place in the Big East Conference, and I'm wondering, you're 12 games in to your conference slate. Are the conversations with your team, do you bring that up, or do you just say, this is a one-game season, we're going to talk about St. John's, or does the larger picture kind of creep into your message to your team?
Yeah, we don't really talk a whole lot about winning the Big East, and it's simply because, look, I'm smart enough at this point to know that everybody that's part of our team knows that. They read about it, they feel it, people talk to them about it. What we like to talk about and what I try to do is to really keep them pointed on the task at hand. And that is, just for example, just because we had an emotional, really great win against Providence doesn't mean that that's going to make the game against St. John's easier. Sometimes that's human nature. Hey, we're fine. We beat Providence. Hey, that'll lead right into the next game. And not until you're in that game do you realize you got to do it all over again. And that all over again includes, getting ready, preparing. It was easy for us to prepare for Providence. We had no Zach. We just lost at Creighton. We knew that Providence was, identical to us in our record. So I thought our preparation, everything we tried to do to get ready for the game was as good as we could do. We have to do the same thing here for a very good, talented, dangerous St. John's team. They've proven that on a given night they can beat anybody. And I know this, that we've also proven that if we're not at the top of our game, regardless of where this game is played, in the Big East Conference, we're vulnerable. And we'll be vulnerable on Saturday. Well, we have to be playing without Zach again on the heels of an overtime game. We need everybody, and we also need that electricity of the crowd. And that's something that gives us a great competitive advantage, and I'm sure that this place will be rocking on Saturday as well.